morning, everyone. Welcome to Spotlight on 1480 WHBC. I walked out of the studio this morning and said, look, the family's here. And it is true. It is Dominic Fonte and Associates. Dominic Fonte, are you a junior?
I'm not.
You're not.
Funny
okay.
enough, I'm not.
Okay, because is your middle name different?
We have a different middle name.
Okay.
So he's a John, I'm a Michael.
Okay.
But if I was a John, I'd probably be a fourth or a fifth.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to keep it simple, right? My dad was senior, I was junior, and then Dominic Michael.
So he wouldn't be the
Michael,
third. Yeah. Okay, Dominic Michael.
And it's still very confusing for people out there. We get crossed up all the time.
I
So
bet.
good thing he has good credentials, or he'd make me look good or bad. I don't know.
And then we have Zev Braun is with us as well. You're one of the associates, correct?
I am, yes.
All right, so we're so glad to have you guys in today. Dom, I just have to start the markets. Where is it? Let's just start with that and get that out of the way.
Okay, so your listeners and viewers, and I'm looking at which camera here. So
There
one
we
over
go.
here, one
over
over
there. We've got both of them going.
This is like high tech in this
I
little
know,
office.
I
We're
know.
sardined in if you could really go online and watch right now. But the market, when people ask that question, I always say, it depends. What market are we talking about? Because everybody, maybe you might be thinking something differently than maybe one of the listeners or viewers. So there's different sides of it. So depending on what side of it you're on. So there could be, I'm kind of kicking around the idea. I think I want to downsize, maybe find something smaller. Or maybe I am expanding my family. I want to find something slightly bigger, but I have some concerns. So that's a part of the market. So depending on what segment, or it could be new construction, maybe, you've been saving and you would like to customize your own thing, and be the first one to live there. So that could be a market. You could say, you know what, I just need to rent something or lease something or, rent to own or something like that. So there's many parts of the market. So let's start with, what side of the market are you thinking about?
Yeah, I'm thinking about buying.
All right, so that's a good one. So let's throw this over to Dom. He had a very busy weekend. He helped, I think, 3 families this weekend.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tell us.
Yeah, so right now,
There we go.
thanks. There's very limited inventory. In the beginning of the year, we saw a little increase, and I believe the number's back down. Is that right?
Yeah.
It's under 2 months of inventory, what's that mean in English? So, people always want to know that. What does that mean?
It would
for
take
them?
approximately 2 months for all the current buyers looking to buy a home to use up all the available properties for sale. And that makes it difficult for a lot of buyers. And what I've been seeing all year so far, since we're 4 months in, is multiple offers are still common. It's not like over COVID how we saw 20 to 30 offers sometimes, but I still see 3 to 5 pretty typically on a lot of these homes.
I mean, you had a busy weekend from what I understand.
Yeah, so there were 2 home sales I was working on. Both of those were in multiple offers. And then on the buyer side, working on one with a client as well. And that one was 5 off on the buyer side.
That's pretty amazing because, I'm hearing headlines that are talking about the market's crashing. It's just not doing well. The interest rates are high. There's wars going on. Gas is high. So there's a lot of concerns, I think. But when you really dial it back and look at our county or Summit County or wherever your jurisdiction is, it's different because the West Coast, things are slower.
Okay.
In Florida, not so hot. There's a lot of inventory. So if you're exposed to that market, you're going to be gun shy. But this market's different. So it's always location, location, location. So I always say, as you are thinking about anything, you always want to make sure, have the conversation with a professional. And then I just wanted to ask Zev something because we were just talking about this the other day about out of all the real estate agents in the United States, and we got all these states, different markets, right? Supply and demand's different. But it matters most in your backyard. So wherever your backyard is, we can have a conversation. But hey, Zev, what about the national statistics of real estate agents? All the agents out in the country, how many are there?
Yeah,
a lot.
It's kind of astronomical. There's like 1.4 million agents.
No, sir.
Yeah, in the United States. And the crazy part about it is I'm sure you see like job turnover stats. It's super high in real estate. Like 85% of the agents year over year are no longer licensed or do 1, maybe 2 sales. And then you got the 10% that do 90% of the business. And I think the biggest thing is you never want to be the guinea pig, because a lot of times maybe you do this once, twice, maybe 3 times if you do it a lot in a lifetime.
Right.
And I know that myself, obviously getting to see it every day, you don't want to go in and not know what's going on and then be partnered with somebody that also doesn't know what's going on. It'll be maybe a very rocky, rolly experience, and you probably won't be real happy with where you end up. So
Yeah, and that's what scares people. That's
yeah.
what scares
It
people away
should.
from it, right?
It should, because, you know, the sad thing is you go to Amazon, buy a $40 item and read 30 reviews, and here you have the biggest thing you're going to do in your life, and you hire someone just because, I don't know, they have nice hair.
Well, you do.
hair's
but-
not bad.
Okay, fine. But the point
But
is,
that's not the reason. Yeah.
But you know, the interesting statistic is out of the 1.4 million, 71.1% of all the real estate agents in the United States sold 0, not even one home. Right?
Wow.
And then 15.1% sold between 0 and 4. So that's like 86% of the people in the U.S. real estate agents you would expect would have some good experience.
Yeah.
And this is what he's saying about the guinea pig thing, is you surely don't want to accidentally pick the wrong agent. And so, like, when we come on this program, it's sales type concept. It's more of an educational concept.
Right.
Like I always tease and say, we're the headlights in the dark, or we're your GPS. I just think it's critical to make sure, like, you take your time. Everybody goes at a different pace, and some people need more facts and more information, because we always say an informed decision maker is a
happy one.
see. So we really care about that, because we're always looking for the long-term, you know, relationships. And one of the other things I think that's really important is, as you go to Amazon or you go to these different places, which everybody does nowadays, and who knows, maybe houses you'll buy online, like Sears. Remember the Sears catalog way back when?
Yeah.
You could buy a
You
house.
took it out of the catalog.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
I think there's one still in Ridgewood. They called it the Sears house. It's really a pretty house. But yeah, things have changed a lot, how we do and gather our information. But I just think in general, the market in our area is super strong. It's just that I think human nature is, since it's an expensive thing, it's emotional. And then sometimes we have life-changing events. You know, you do tend to be a little like gun shy, I think. And if
For
you're
sure.
gun shy, you know, you're going to hit pause and just kind of wait and see. And as you're waiting and seeing, prices are continuing to rise. And, you know, to get your foot, you know, dip your toe in the arena or the pond of it, you know, the sooner the better. And I always say, you just want to have a good guide. And that's really what Zev was mentioning, is we need to do a good guide.
And that leads me to Dominic Fonte and Associates.com, because
Right.
your history is on there. It's not like you sold 1 or 2 houses and
Right,
you're, you know,
right.
I mean, you can go back and look at you. How young were you in some
I think I
years?
was 28 years old when I started. So it was 38 years ago. But the interesting thing is, if you've been around a while, watching the ups and downs of the market, the interest rates, the economy, inflation, supply, demand, you know, pandemics, concerns, one of the things that I think will shine through in Dominic Fonte Associates is that no matter what, we don't curse the wind, we adjust our sails. No matter what's thrown our way, no matter what your situation is, how tough you think it is, we have the roadmap. We have the technology, we have the heart, and we can walk our listeners and viewers through the process
Yeah, for
based
sure.
on how you guys feel about it. Okay, so
Yeah.
all you have to do is just reach out to us. There's no obligation. We just want to help educate you. And if it makes sense, you do it. And if it doesn't, you just pass our name along to somebody else. And honestly, I think that's how we had so many 5-star reviews from people that know, like, and trust us.
Yeah. All right. So we are live on Facebook right now. If you have questions you want to put on Facebook, please do. They'd be more than happy to answer them. We're also live on our YouTube channel, so you can check it out there. And we will take our first break. Dominic Fonte and Associates will be back on News Talk 1480 WHBC. Welcome back to our Monday edition of Spotlight here on 1480 WHBC. Of course, a special edition. And Dominic Fonte and Associates are always a special guest in studio with us, and we've been talking about the market and, you know, how people are, you know, you get nervous when it's time to make that big decision, whether it be your first time or third time, still can be nerve-wracking. But why don't you talk a little bit about the process for people and what you hope to accomplish through that process.
So again, what part of the market? So there's the buying side
Mm-hmm.
and then the selling side. So let's say if it's a first-time buyer, second-time buyer, if they don't have a house to sell, because sometimes, they have a house that they say, well, I need the money from the house in order to buy something. And then the mechanism to do that could be why you pause, because it's scary. So we would like to do a consultation, which sometimes, the buyers themselves get anxious, they put the horse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what we like to do it correctly is to sit down, have a conversation, kind of understand where your head is, what your wishes are, and then we kind of do bite-sized pieces. And then so Zev or Dom, you guys can talk on this when you have your meetings with a buyer. What do you recommend?
So we typically break it down to 15 steps. Bird's eye view of here's the beginning, here's the end. And I think Dominic mentioned it really well. A lot of people put the cart before the horse, and that it's usually something they see maybe on a website that gets them excited and kind of starts the whole conversation. And the downfall of that is in the market that we're in that's much more competitive, you really need to have your ducks in a row so you can strike while the iron's hot, because what ends up happening a lot of times is you get excited about this, you're ready to go.
Yeah,
Lo and behold, you haven't done any of the steps to get ready. You lose out on the opportunity.
it's gone.
You're upset. You're comparing every future home to the one that you lost out on. So,
Yeah.
and that can be frustrating, and I see it all the time. So the important part is sit down, figure out what your needs are, what your situation is, so that way we can best advocate for you. Say, maybe speak to your trusted lender. Here's what you'll experience going through the process. It's a lot of information, but it's a nice opportunity to plant the seed, so that way when we do go through that process, do hit that step, you can be like, oh, Zev, I remember you mentioning that. So that way it's not all foreign to you. It's a lot more familiar, but it's a unique process just depending on if you are buying for the first time, downsizing, up buying, you need more space, or maybe you're relocating to a different area, which we've started to see a whole
lot
ton
of.
more. Yeah.
Mhm.
And we've used creative ways of video. Today's world, we have a lot more technology, and, rather than being upset about it, we use it to our advantage to help bridge the gap and show people really, what we have here in our market, which is much more affordable than other parts of the U.S.
Like he's saying, you can't always just jump on a plane and fly here with the gas prices, right?
Right.
So you got to trust your advisor to walk you through the house like you're living there, walking through it with them. And it's very difficult to do because it's not just showing the sizzle. We want to show you the brown spots on the wall. We want to show you the old electric service. We want to show you the landscape that needs work. Plus, we want to show you the positive. So it gets you a rounded feeling to see if it's worth you moving ahead. Because since our market's a little hotter, moving a little quicker, we have to kind of fill in the blanks to make you win more often than lose. Because like you said, when you lose, it's frustrating because it's emotional.
Mm-hmm.
And then you gauge it every house after that of the one you missed out on because nothing measures up, or at least it doesn't for now.
Yeah.
And it is pretty frustrating. Dom, how do you, what's the trick, I think, with the competitive market? People have to move at a fast pace, but then they get buyer's remorse. They get scared. So what is the technique you use and that we talk about all the time so that people, since they buy emotionally and justify logically, what do we do about that?
Well, when you see a property, a lot of times your emotions get you excited about the house, right? And you can think, oh, what could this be? My family here, or whatever the future would hold at the property. It's always hugely important to write down the reasons you're buying the property, because a lot of time.
But I have them
Yeah.
up in my head.
I know. So a lot of times you're thinking, well, I have them up in my head. I know I'm buying this house. It makes sense. It's going to work for my family. But then it's 4 a.m. You can't sleep. The day after the offer just got accepted. And now you're thinking, oh, wait, I don't remember anything. My mind's blank because I have some anxiety, unless you're special. But a lot of people tend to be that way, including myself. So it's great to have it written down on paper because you want to refer back to this list. Like, look, this is the reason I'm buying this house. The downsides are, fixable options, right? Or the ideal thing is, do the positives outweigh the cons?
Mm-hmm.
And is this a logical decision? And is this going to reassure me that this is why I'm buying the house? And that's why writing it down is so important.
And if you lose the house, you have it written down for the next one, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the critical thing here is that we've done it long enough and seen the ups and downs of human nature. Because sometimes, I don't know if you've ever known when you buy something, and you share the news with friends, family, people.
Yeah.
Everybody's an expert,
Oh,
and they're
yeah.
telling you all the things you should have done. And then if you don't have a firm foundation of why you're doing it, and that's our foundational pieces we make sure we share with you. And when you say, oh, no, I have it up in my head, well, we know what happens at 2 or 4 in the morning, don't we? The mind goes blank, anxiety kicks up. And so I say to make that, I always say the informed decision maker is a happy decision maker. And that's because we make sure we do the exercise. And some people really don't, they can learn a little quicker, move a little, have a few less facts. But just I think in general, to be happy about your decision, that's our safest, best way.
And I think, as you mentioned, prepare yourself before you find that house, because like you say, if you aren't ready to go, then, then it could be a delay, and then that can be a problem, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to certainly strike while the iron's hot, where we're seeing in our county Summit area, if you're in a buyer pool of like 350,000 or under, that's where majority of people fall. It's extremely competitive, and with a limited number of homes available, you're potentially, as Dominic mentioned earlier, competing against other people who, maybe have lost out and are really willing to do anything to get this house. And, what will end up happening if you're not prepared is you're going to be one of those people. And we really work really hard to advise you, give you all the information. At the end of the day, it's their decision, whatever they want to do. But we know that if you give them all the facts and capabilities to win, if they choose to go down that path, I find it works really well. Had a good weekend finding success in that.
Yeah, I mean, actually, the 2 gentlemen helped 5 families this weekend alone.
Wow.
Which is pretty impressive.
It is absolutely pretty impressive. So if somebody wants to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
You can reach out. You can go to DominicFonteAssociates.com if you want to read a little bit about our reviews and how we don't curse the wind, but we adjust our sale and some history. But if you'd like to text or call, just because a lot of people do that nowadays, go to you can send an email, Dominic@DominicFonte.com, or 330-418-1535. That's 330-418-1535. Just call or text. Keep in mind that if you're a little hesitant, which most people are, I think, because this is a big deal, go check out our reviews. If you start reading some reviews, that will give you peace of mind to understand what you'll experience working with our team and how much we care, because we really do care.
Yeah, absolutely. You wouldn't be in business as long as you have been, that's for sure. All right, we're going to take our break for the news right now. And again, we'll be back on Spotlight on 1480 WHBC. Back to the Monday edition of Spotlight on 1480 WHBC, live on Facebook, live on our YouTube channel, live on the radio too, folks. Dominic Fonte and Associates, our guests this morning, and we're talking about buying a home, selling a home, how to prepare, all of those things, and how to trust, just importantly, the agent that you select. And we were talking off the air about, areas where, people get confused about where they're buying just because maybe a mailing address is different from what the school district is, right?
That's right.
So you want to pick a place that has everything that you want, but you got to check those location things.
I think affordability is a big thing now because, since COVID, the prices went up, I don't know, 80% in some cases.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot. And I think there's hidden treasures, that you have to find, but you can't always find by these third-party sites. The third-party sites are what's called aggregation sites, where they just gather all the information and it's not accurate usually. And so when we talk to our clients that we reach out to and that reach out to us, we talk about the gold, which is the most up-to-date searching mechanism. The minute it hits the market, that's how quick you can get it. And it's more up-to-date because, sometimes people will say, hey, Dom, I'd like to take a look at this house. And they found it on one of those third-party sites that we talk about a lot. And, of course, it's sold 6 months ago or 3 months ago, or it's not available. And it gets frustrating.
Yeah.
And that's why real estate's brutal, because it's emotional, right?
Yeah.
And what you were mentioning a minute ago is that location, condition, and price are important. But if I don't have the vision or the wherewithal to know the condition, I sometimes get afraid or scared off thinking it needs too much work. Well, where these gentlemen come into play, and I know Dom's done videos and Zev, but basically what I think, not only are we helping you navigate the process like the GPS system, in your real estate purchasing or selling. It's just important to be able to have vision and understand contacts and how affordable or not affordable it is. Because when we talked about affordability, it's not just the house, the loan, the interest rates, and all that. There's things that need to be done to the house. And some things could be overwhelming where you sabotage your real estate experience because it's scary or unknown to you. That's a human nature.
Right.
And really where we go further is we can then paint a picture, and we can even help. We know how to do it. We know how to get the right people around you. And so sometimes, like I've shown properties before where someone says, oh my goodness, this whole kitchen needs gutted and everything. And really all it comes down to is new countertops, a backsplash, and some painting. And you transform this brand new kitchen.
Have the vision.
Yeah, I mean, so, and that's really it. So a lot of times it's just paint, light fixtures, countertops, and some flooring, and a little landscaping, a little road appeal, and everybody, your neighbors and everybody's talking like, wow.
Hey, that looks great. Thank you for moving in.
Yeah, and so technically these gentlemen, that's really, I'd say our expertise is really knowing, how to position you correctly so that even though I know the prices are a bit higher and the rates are a little bit higher, things are still appreciating about 5% a year. So think about this. If you were to have the right guidance and you understand what you're getting into, realistically, we're not looking east for the sunset. We're looking for the sunrise, baby. And so I think it's just really important to know that. And with the guidance of the professionals, then you're making an informed decision because they're going to do the pluses and minuses. We're not going to make an erratic decision. We're going to make a decision that's going to gain you compounding growth, equity appreciation, lifestyle change. You can customize it to your liking and your flavor, right? And in the long run, you're going to look back and thank these gentlemen for guiding you. Now, the challenge I have for the listeners and the viewers is to send in a question and let's challenge them. Let's see.
Okay, I love that. That's a great idea. You can send a question on Facebook if you want to. You can even call. We could take your calls if you want to give a call to 330-450-1480. Challenge these young men.
Let's challenge them. Let's see if I taught them well.
So what happens when somebody's out of town, they want to move back into town? Talk a little bit about that and how that works.
Yeah, so this is actually, it's people thinking of moving back to the area because of their kids, grandkids. Florida or the Carolinas are going crazy on pricing, or they don't want to stay there anymore. It's too humid. So they come back to Ohio. And a lot of times, some of these people don't even have mortgages. And maybe they haven't bought in the past, 20 years or 30 years. So now they're thinking, well, I don't want to have a mortgage again. I'd like to just buy a house here and then sell my house to pay for it. And the difficulty with that is I have to explain, well, with the market we're in, buying contingent, so that would just mean I want to buy, but I have to sell my house before I can buy.
Right.
So they
Contingent
can,
on the sale of your house.
So a lot of times you might have to figure out a creative method, which we help give our buyers guidance on for situations like that, because that contingency route really makes it difficult to be competitive in the market we're in. I even had a situation earlier this year with a condo. It was on the market for months, and we were putting together a contingent offer because he wanted to at least try that route first. So we gave it a shot, and the sellers didn't even want to accept the contingent offer, even after being on the market for months and, having no other interest. Didn't want to get tied up.
Yeah, which I would imagine a lot of people don't.
So we have to come up with mechanisms to be able to create a safe winning scenario for the client so they win more. And that's, I think, between what I mentioned earlier, that's one of our specialties. Zev, what are you seeing on your end of it?
Yeah, so it depends. Your situation in life, as Dom mentioned, sometimes maybe you've lived in a place for a long time, you're downsizing, you have a lot of equity built up in your house. And we've talked about this in the past, but, a lot of times I'm mid-30s. I run into people my age that have a growing family and need more space. And they're kind of on the other end where they have a home with maybe their first home. It's a little smaller. So it's like, how on earth do I find my home, not be, homeless, because my house, I'm able to sell it pretty timely, but then I have the trouble of trying to secure something. So that's the creativity that we're talking about that makes a lot of people uncomfortable.
Right.
Because you got
Makes a lot of
kids,
parents
job,
uncomfortable too.
yeah, 100%.
That's why I have a 1-bedroom home.
Yeah.
No, just
Yep.
kidding.
So really, it's just whatever your needs are. We'll customize the plan, give you all the options. At the end of the day, it's the consumer's choice. But if you have a contingency, it's like going to a knife fight with your hands tied behind your back. It's really hard, and you're not set up for success.
A butter knife.
Yes. And, I mean, I was also saying off the air that, there are some people, they put their house up for sale thinking it's going to take a while, and then bam, it's sold, and there they sit, and they still haven't made the choice of where they're going to go. So, I mean, it can work both ways. I think that right there is is so tough for people.
He's right. It's can be disabling. Honestly, it's a disabling experience. And since I mentioned in the very beginning that 86 or 85% have very limited experience, you want to make sure you just check it out, kick the tires. If you need help, of course, call us at 330-418-1535, 330-418-1535. Call or text, and we'll be more than happy to consult with you and just see where you are. And again, there's no obligation. You don't have to feel pressure. There's nothing, we look at the relationship long term, and many times, we maybe educate you and you decide, I think we're just going to stay tight, stay where we are. And maybe we give you a lawn cutter, or we give you someone to help with the snow or leaf cleanup, because sometimes it's cheaper just to sit tight than to uproot your life, move and, pay movers and the stress of going through it and decluttering and all that. So that's why it's really important to have that honest face-to-face consultation. I know some people, they're afraid. They're like, wow, yeah, he's going to bug me. I don't want to really call him and start that can of worms. But we're not that way. And I hope if you listen to us on the radio many times, you're going to see that we're just not that way. And if you're a little insecure, go to DominicFonte.com, read the reviews, and you'll see what you'll experience working with these guys. We really do care, and that's why we keep coming on. And hopefully sooner or later you're going to pick up the phone and call and see it's not so scary. And you'll be educated, and you'll tell all your friends and family, because that's how we get the majority of our business is through word of mouth.
Word of mouth.
And that's a true testament on, know, like, and trustability.
So let me ask you, Dom, since you've been doing this for so many years, what is something that you over the years, what your takeaway from since you were 28 years old, the kinds of things you've learned?
It's tough. That's a tough question, and I'll tell you why. Because it depends on the situation that we're dealing with. Because sometimes, it could be different. Like for me as an agent, I had a different, painful learning experience because I didn't understand. There's a lot of knowledge you have to learn about the business. But what's even harder is, and the reason why we came up with Don't Curse the Wind, Adjust the Sail, is because there's things that are out of our control.
Gotcha.
When the rates went to 18-20%, when the pandemic happened, when the Gulf War happened, there's certain things that interfere with what's happening in the economy. And so you're trying to figure out, okay, how do we navigate through this? And I have to make sure I understand it, so I have to learn about it and then help articulate it to how you're processing it, and then try to help you decide, does this make sense or not? So it's an emotional, it's very difficult. And I think that's probably why the failure rate in our business is 87%. Wow. Because it's just very difficult.
I'm going to ask the three of you to put your headphones on, because we're going to go to the phones actually and get a call here. And then you guys can hear, we have Janice in Canton. Good morning, Janice.
Good morning. I was wondering, in terms of selling your house, when I look at the list of people whose houses have sold in the Friday listing in the newspaper, there are so many sellers who are all initials or names of companies. Are those local people? Are they some kind of real estate investment corporations? Or what?
Yes.
What are you dealing with when there seem to be so many unidentifiable sets of initials and so on in the
Yeah, yeah, go ahead, Zev.
Thanks, Janice, for calling in. It's a great question. So, it can be any one of many things. So, a lot of times when a real estate investor is purchasing a property, they do it in something called an LLC. It's a limited liability company. Basically, it's just a name, but there's a real person behind it that owns it. Perhaps they're buying it to make improvements on the property. We call that a flip, and then sell it to make a profit. And that can be exciting for somebody that needs maybe a move-in ready home. Sometimes you'll pay a premium to do that because it already has the cosmetic changes, but depending on your situation, that can be exciting and appealing to you. And then, there are larger companies out there, perhaps, maybe not as prevalent in our area here in Stark County and Canton, but there are the big corporation companies that buy big blocks of real estate to help their individual people who have invested money in their fund to go in and buy these big properties. Dominic, do you have anything to share with Janice as well?
And sometimes it's even just individuals like you and me, where maybe they're looking at it as an investment opportunity. So it could be a group, or it could even be an individual, like Zev said, and they're buying it in one of those limited liability companies, LLCs, and it's just an individual behind it.
Or a property management company, right? Could be purchasing it. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes. Hey, Janet, thank you for calling in. And I know exactly what you're talking about. And there's a lot of talk now about putting restrictions on certain LLCs, which they're talking about as a limited liability company. So nowadays, with the rules, federal rules, is you have to disclose who owns the LLC. So in other words, let's say I had ABC LLC buying your neighbor's house, and the neighbor went into assisted care or nursing home, and I'm thinking, okay, I see a business opportunity. So I think I'm going to go ahead and buy it for a discount, right? And I might fix it up just a little bit and rent to own it to someone as a business opportunity. So the government, they want to know now, so the title companies have to have a form filled out so they know, is the LLC a person or an entity? So in other words, if it's a big corporation or if it's a small guy, an individual that's just, their attorney says, put it in an LLC for liability purposes. But when you see that, a lot of times it's people buying it to fix it up, to resell it or rent to own, and it's a business thing for them. So
Does that help? Janice?
And sometimes they're looking for discounts when they do that. So if you ever have any thoughts of selling yourself, you can reach out to any of us and we'll come out and talk with you and help guide you properly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Sure.
ma'am.
Thanks
Have a
for
great
calling.
week.
Good question. All right, we're going to take our final break, and we'll be back on Spotlight here on 1480 WHBC. All right, our final installment of our Spotlight today, Dominic Fonte and Associates. And thank you to Janice for calling in. Great question there, and appreciate that. But also, I was asking off the air because you did mention, Dom, about rent to own. And what is that a prevalent situation or not too common, or how does that work?
Yeah, I don't see it too frequently anymore. But for some people, if they have damaged credit or a situation like that financially, sometimes there are properties out there where sellers will hold the mortgage, essentially, where you put down a deposit to the owner of the property, and then you work out a contract with them where you're going to make monthly payments to them, and a portion of which will go towards the purchase of the home. It's kind of like a mortgage, just the homeowners retaining it.
Okay.
So I do still see it sometimes, but not very often.
And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, right?
Right.
It's kind of how it goes. So, but I know a lot of people may hear that and think, oh, maybe that would be less scary.
Right.
But not
I think it's always situational dependence, and there has to be a level of trust between the two parties doing it to, have a contract and have a clear path of, here's how you own it, here's how I'm going to eventually own it. And even on our side, we've helped advise people even in those unique situations where, it's for sale by owner, whatever the case may be. We've been involved in all those and give somebody some guidance if that's something that's on their mind they want to talk a little more about.
Yeah.
You mentioned for sale by owner. So that means if you're not using a real estate agent, you want to just sell it yourself. And a lot of times I find people look at the service fee or the commission as a big amount, which it can be a big amount besides mortgage and taxes. But I always like to say, and this is what I always say to my clients and customers, is if you had a bad experience, we understand why you feel that way. And with the stats we gave you, with 86% of the agents not really that dialed in, if you have a bad experience, I can relate to that because I have on things too. But I think the important thing to remember is that there is a fee, just like there's a cost of doing business. But I always say that, when you look at the fee, I like you to think about really the net number. And I believe where my power and our power of our team is and our experience and our track record is that we will net you more money in the long run. So even if you do pay a fee, we find that the majority of the people are much happier with working with someone at our caliber because they have better results, a better net result. And so they don't feel so bad about paying the service fee. Instead of focusing on the nickel part of it, we want them to focus on the dollar part of it.
Right.
They're going to step over that nickel and pick up the dollar. We're going to net them.
And also, if you think you're going to be scared selling a home, try selling it on your own. It's a scary situation and you need the advice and the guidance. And like you always say, the headlights in the dark because heck,
there's a lot of moving parts, and
Yeah.
it is a little bit overwhelming, and with technology, it can be a bit more confusing. So I'd say at the end of the day, reach out to one of these professionals because really that's the key. Because even if it's hard for you to pick up the phone or text or email, you should just do it because it's what you need to do to get informed.
Take that first step.
And once you're informed, then you say, okay, I'm so glad I did. I should have done it last year.
And
I don't know how many people say that, I waited too long. And
Yeah.
you don't want to wait too long. So think of this as your wake-up call. And I just want to know if there's something that you need, you can call me at 330-418-1535. You can call, leave a voicemail, you can text, or you can send me an email at Dominic@DominicFonte.com. How about you, Dom?
Yeah, you can call or text me at 330-234-6204 or email me at dom@DominicFonte.com.
And my number is 330-933-3258, and my email is my name Zev@DominicFonte.com.
And if you want to just really blow it out of the park, go to DominicFonte.com. Check out our more than 580 5-star reviews to see what you'll experience working with these guys.
And also,
Janice, thank you for calling in.
yes, and Dominic Fonte and Associates.com if you want to see Dom back when he was like 28 years old.
I had no gray then.
There's a great history section there that really will, I think, put your mind at ease and make you have
take a
little
look at it.
confidence.
It's the history of what's happened over the last 38 years.
Awesome
Thanks,
stuff.
everybody. Have a great week.
Thanks for coming on, guys.